You told me a story about something about a wagon that one of your neighbors owned that ended up on the top of a building somehow.
I don't remember that.
You don't? Okay. There was a fellow that had a wagon that you and somebody else took apart and put back together on top of a building. You don't remember that story?
Maybe if you give me a little while, I'll tell you.
Okay.
The main wagons that I remember, we used to have in the summertime. We didn't have electric refrigerators or anything. We had ice boxes, and they would deliver ice they just had a regular run down to the neighborhood, and they'd stop at each house.
And his name was Bob White, and he was black.
The Iceman.
Mm-hmm.
And they would chip off whatever size block of ice you had, and then people had cards where if they weren't going to be at home, they would turn that card to what size block they wanted. And usually the ice box, I don't know how Bob White knew where the ice box was or how to get in, but he would chop that ice off and put it in the ice box for them.
It was usually 25 or 50 pounds.
Yeah, but anyway, one of the things that he was famous for, and everybody liked about him, when he chipped that ice, he could really chip it and just make it split where he wanted. But he always made sure he chipped some little pieces for you, so the kids in the neighborhood would go to that ice wagon and they'd get those pieces, and that was good refreshment.
A treat.
Yeah.
One time he came to our house, and we had a fence, pretty high around the house, and Bob White was about that wide.
At least.
He was a hefty man.
Yeah.
But he could throw that ice over his back and no problem. Well, we had a German police dog that didn't like blacks, didn't like Bob White at all. Well, usually if we were out in the yard playing, he didn't pay any attention to General because he knew that we would, well, he starts in the gate with that 50 pounds of ice on his back, and he gets halfway, and General was up under the edge of the house, and we weren't paying any attention, and he came out from under that house and chased Bob White, and Bob White jumped that fence with that 50 pounds of ice on his shoulder and was still running the last time we saw him.
He didn't drop the ice?
He didn't drop it. It was
he was agile.
But he was a good man. He really was.
Yeah, he'd sing sometimes when he was at work.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, he drove, he had a coal wagon. And with that same team of horses, he would deliver coal.
And when he retired, I remember he had a vegetable stand up there on Linwood Road.
Did he? I never did know that.
Now, when would this have been?
When he delivered ice?
Yeah.
Probably in early 40s.
Well, that would have been
or late 30s.
You know, in the late 30s and during even some during World War I or World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He worked for Adams Ice and Coal Company. And Star Hanna, who was our cousin, he was the manager of that place. So he knew all the goings on there.